Hi, I'm Mike Gardner. I'm the founder and CEO of Buzzy Games. And at Buzzy Games, we provide an online platform so that kids anywhere across the globe can come together and learn to design, create, code, and then publish their own games as a team. We're on a mission to build a community of creators of over 100 million by the end of 2025, and to help these students develop critical future skills in collaboration and creative thinking. And we're working alongside teachers and parents to overcome some pretty big challenges right now to make this happen. I don't think any of us can argue that teachers are overwhelmed and that students are becoming more and more disengaged. But alongside this, we have a problem of accessibility in terms of a bottleneck of technical requirements that are needed for teachers or parents to enable this for the kids. At Buzzy Games, we help solve this by having an online platform that's accessible by any educator or student via our website. And by enabling a team experience, we unlock social learning. By providing live online coaches alongside our platform, we can enable students to get through some of these hurdles and learn the skills, but just as importantly, to step back when the students can learn on their own. Our project kits are so fun. We have game design and games across many areas, and the kids love them. And the fact that it's social means that the kids stay connected and are more likely to continue. This is what it looks like in practice. We have teams of kids come together live on Zoom with our coaches, designing, pitching ideas to each other, iterating, and then through our platform, learning the skills to make these ideas a thing and publish them, and then get feedback from other kids who have played their games. It'd be great for you guys to have a look at what that experience looks like in action. So we've got a video on our homepage. If you go there later and check it out, you can see what this looks like. And for these kids, they get access to our program initially through classrooms, both physical and now online. Teachers who've been trained have unlocked project kits, which they can then map to curriculum areas and deliver to make their classrooms more engaging. Some of these kids go home and want to keep going with their projects, and we enable them to do that with our at-home live online offering. And this is how we build a scalable revenue model. Teachers pay a small amount each year to be trained and unlock the project kits. Parents can pay just $59 a month to have their kids continue and progress. And then we have a marketplace of projects that kids can pick and choose from depending on their interest level and where they want to progress to. It's just over a year and a half since we incorporated, and I'm proud to say our small team has already delivered this experience to over 6,000 Aussie kids in K-12. We've coached over 100 educators to use our program. And just recently in June, we launched in the US and have delivered to students in the UK, US, Middle East. Already 600 students have created 900 plus games. I think that's amazing. And even more recently, we just secured a contract to deliver our program to 2,000 students in Florida, and we're excited to roll this out next month. Over the next 12 months, we are going to increase our community to 100,000 students, thanks to the help of 1,000 teachers, which will be training and supporting. And through that, we will generate over 5,000 paid student subscriptions, which means that we will have $2.9 million annual recurring revenue. Part of our success already and in the future is because of our core value of collaboration. By partnering with companies like Smart Technology, who have the Western world's largest market share of smart screens in schools, and more importantly, have collaboration at the core of their product suite. And by working with companies like OutSchool, we can reach students across the globe through the largest live online marketplace for independent learning. We've already had some great wins through working with Big Day In, events, and government like the New South Wales state government to be providers of creative kids. If you're excited by our mission to build this community of 100 million student creators, and if you think that making learning multiplayer is a worthwhile endeavor, then I really want you to reach out to me and let me know how you would like to get involved or how you can help. My email address is there, and if you go to our website, you can also have a look at what we're doing and reach out to us via the web.
Hi, I'm Kellyanne Denton. I'm the Chief Visual Officer of Imagineer.me. Imagineer.me is now an online platform for creative learning. So you know how we want creative kids who develop complex problem-solving skills while they're at school? We'll need imaginative teachers. The World Trade Organization listed its top 10 future skills. As you can see on the screen, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, but also important to us is judgment and decision making, along with cognitive flexibility. These all require imagination, the ability to see more possibilities and other points of view. What I consider interesting is the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs listed visualization as number 6 on their list under abilities, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that as well. So Imagineer is a school for imagination, and we do that via visual skills. The curricula are written by tertiary trained visual educators and underwritten by neuroscience. Complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, judgment, decision making, and cognitive flexibility are all actually visual skills if you look at it in terms of imagination. And Imagineer takes care of 50% of the top 10 skills in our pedagogy. Critical and creative thinking plus visualization helps us to see more possibilities. This is imagination. And visual skills strengthen our ability to imagine. We know this is part of the neuroscience of imagination. So when we draw out our ideas and think in pictures, we generate ideas that are non-sequential, place-based, and connected in multiple ways. This is critical for imagination. We know our learning is really, really good. We were traditionally a face-to-face school, and we moved to the digital platform with the Future Minds Accelerator. So we've had a lot of teachers report back to NESA, the government body, New South Wales Education Standards Authority, on the learning, and it's really highly revered. This year, our work in progress has been putting our face-to-face programs online. We have got our teachers general and teachers specific ready, and we have our art student classes ready. We are going to be working on parents and also students for next year. When we say teacher specific, what we mean is we want visualization programs to cater for maths teachers, English teachers, science teachers. Visual skills are really important no matter what your discipline is. We brought some really big partners on this year. The V series is our series of programs. They're the visual series, but we now have the S series, which is the Waldorf Steiner School of Learning. So they have their programs. They'll be ready to go by September. They're an important partner for us because they have 1,300 schools worldwide and over 2,000 childcare centres. So their international reputation will be really helpful as we partner and continue to build out imagination outside of Australia. We also partnered with the National Arts School, which is Australia's national visual arts university, and we have an Indigenous curricula writer who is writing for both teachers in storytelling, metaphor and symbolism, but actually also talking in pictures for students. And that's teaching teachers how to better talk in pictures for Indigenous students. They have a lot of skills to transfer for our benefit. So these are the courses that are currently in production for 2020, the V series, the S series and the Indigenous series. We are almost a month old and we've had our first 84 teachers sign up, and of that 31% converted and actually purchased the courses. So we're really looking forward to building this out month after month after month. We invested in a digital strategy, and this year really has been about relationships, understanding how to market our products, but also building the products to the standard that we want them to be. So this year is really about building the foundation for the school in general. So our unfair advantage is that there is no other school in the world that teaches teachers in the education sector how to use their imagination. Thank you.
Welcome to Experimentary Science that's hands-on and online. I'll be your host for this pitch, Dr. Rob. So why am I doing it? Who am I? Well, I've spent 5 years at CSIRO and then 11 years hosting a kids science show, Scope, on TV. So that's what's made me, I suppose, passionate about science and science education, as well as being a credible person to sort of put this together and to market it out there to schools. The reason I'm doing it, I guess, is that I see that the STEM jobs and STEM skills are the future for the workforce, but there's a lot of students coming through that just aren't taking science. They don't have the skills to be going on. And particularly in primary school, and Experimentary is aimed for sort of from kindergarten through to about year 8, but particularly in primary school, a lot of teachers say they don't have either the skills, the training, or the confidence to teach science in an in-depth way. So that's where Experimentary can help. And this is what it is. It's an online platform full of experiments. There's a lot of media in there, so the teachers can go on and find the appropriate experiment that's aligned to the curriculum. They sort of bring me in video form, if you like, to explain the experiment and the science behind it. But crucially, it's not just a simulation. The kids have to get in there, get stuck in and do the experiment. They find their results, and then they can bring them all back to the platform. There's an online lab book where they can record all of their findings, so it's quite a structured environment. But it's not just about the school stuff. There's science at home they can do as well, so parents love it. It makes the teacher's life easier. They learn a bit about science along the way and how to do it. And of course, for the kids, they love doing hands-on science. Any kids, that's their favourite part of science, is getting their hands onto it and getting stuck into it. So we're fairly new to the scene. This is the first year, really, we've had the resources to get our product out and about and get it tried in lots of schools, and we've had a great response, to be frank. 145 schools have trialled it this year. We've had a few schools sign up and subscribe. Likewise, we've just made it available to parents and homeschoolers, and we've also got a lot of trials, in fact, and quite a few subscriptions that have come out of that. So it's been really heartening to see that there's an appetite for it and that people are prepared to put their money down. Obviously, schools tend to make these decisions at the start of the year, not halfway through the year. So terms 3 and 4 will be crucial for us. You can see the big watermelon experiment on there as well. That's something we put together just for Science Week this year. That's something that happened in August. It was a free event that we put together. Lots of resources around schools, getting on board to see how many rubber bands it takes to implode a watermelon, but in a scientific way. So they've got to do lots of recording, and there's some mini lessons to put on there. It was really just a way for us to put on something for Science Week for free, and we attracted around about 300 schools, and Woolworths came on board to provide the watermelons for the schools. So it was a really great event and drummed up a lot of interest, and of course lots of enthusiasm and great videos from the kids as well, because they're getting to do science. The business model is very similar to a lot of these programs that go into schools, so it's a per student per year price. And you can see you don't need to sign up that many students, or that many schools, if you like, for the thing to run itself. The market size just in Australia, about 6,500 primary school and about 2 million students. There's a lot of potential. And beyond these shores, of course, it just gets even larger. Schools are already used to paying for these kinds of things. Mathematics and reading eggs were very early examples in literacy and numeracy. Both Australian companies, both did really well. Science is a bit newer to the scene. And our main competition, apart from other online platforms doing literacy and numeracy, is probably the way they did things last year, or the online bit of content from YouTube or NASA. But none of those really focus around the curriculum or all have everything in one place for them. Style education is probably the closest thing, and it only goes down to about year 5. So there's a really big chunk of the market there and a lot of hunger for that online science. In terms of how we're going to get it out there, well, we've just got a business developer on board for us, and that's going to be great. We're going to get a chance to follow up these 140 schools that have trialled it this year, plus all of the schools that dipped their toe in last year. So we'll get a real chance to follow through on all of that. Schools are a tricky market, but they're also very sticky. Once they find something they like, they stick with it. We found the best channel to get out there so far has actually been social media. We've had enormous responses on social media. I think because what we do is so visual, and once people see what it is that we're doing, they cotton onto it and want to have a go themselves. The team is myself and a couple of other ex-TV people, so the content in there is good content. It's not dodgy YouTube videos. We know how to make the good content and how to relate it to the kids. But we've got other people on board to make the whole thing work. There's some web developers to build a really good, safe, reliable platform. Marketing just come on board with a couple of people to really expand that for us, Again, that's been great. Business development mentioned. And of course, importantly, an education panel to make sure the whole thing is rigorous. So in the next sort of 6 months, we're really looking out to get some investment to extend our runway, or a strategic partner to enable us to get the right hires, as well as to start looking further afield to expand.
Hello everyone, I'm Margaret, the CEO and co-founder of Young Change Agents. We exist to help youth reframe problems as opportunities through entrepreneurship, and we do that through workshops, educator capacity building, and through our proprietary technology. What future do we want for Australia? We know that entrepreneurship is both an essential driver of societal health and wealth, as well as a formidable engine of economic growth. Yet Australia scores just 3.7 out of 10 for entrepreneurship education at school age. We're not helping our country reach its full potential. And it's not only about creation of jobs. 63% of all jobs will be enterprise skills intensive by 2030. And even today, young people with enterprise skills are 17 months ahead of their peers in gaining full-time employment. Education reform is happening around the world, leaving educators with a knowledge and resource gap. There's a growing interest in lifelong learning and micro-credentialing as we move from standardised testing to learner profiles. There's a massive need here, and Young Change Agents is positioned to meet this 10 times faster than anyone else. You see, systems change in education is highly complex, with lots of systems and stakeholders. Over the last 4 years, we've developed a 4-pillared approach to build a repeatable and scalable model in each region we enter. This quarter, we are a fully national provider, entering our final state of WA. Let me tell you about our customers. These personas have been informed by co-design with hundreds of students and educators across Australia. Anna is 15 and doesn't know what entrepreneurship is. She doesn't feel confident in her ideas. She has no idea really how to get started and who would support her. She attends our workshop series where she starts to identify and define problems, create business models, which she validates, she prototypes, pitches, all increasing her confidence and interest in starting a business one day. Using our complementary technology, she builds her entrepreneurial portfolio. She receives badges for the different skills she develops, which motivate her to keep on learning. Jasmine is her teacher. She has seen the evidence and knows the importance of these future skills, but she's not equipped to deliver it at her school. She goes through our licensed 4-level capacity building process and becomes a champion. She feels confident and supported through the community of practice and accesses our learning and resources through the educator portal and manages the program using the Entrepreneurship Hub. We have developed this Entrepreneurship Hub to badge the mindset, skill set and tool set that our students obtain through our programs. Our 6,500 students have on average obtained 14 badges, with a total of 80,000 badges earned in the last 4 years. 578 educators are currently in our capacity building program with a reach of over 50,000 students. We are the leading entrepreneurial education provider in Australia. We're the co-design and major delivery partner for the Federal Government's Academy for Enterprising Girls. We work with the majority of Department of Educations around Australia. We now license our model to Code Camp, a large after-school and vacation care provider, and have a revenue share model with cohort-specific organisations, for example, in the Indigenous space. Our corporate partners and clients include Telstra, Atlassian, Macquarie Group, and Rio Tinto. We have 3 main streams: our fee-for-service school packages, fee-for-service large-scale programs, and licensed programs and rev share models. Our secured revenue for 2021 is $940,000. Our forecast for 22 is $2 million, and by taking on impact investment late next year, we forecast our revenue for 23 at $4 million. The global edutech market is growing rapidly, and with the demand for enterprise skills, we anticipate the growth for this particular segment. Young Change Agents is focused on both the Australia and the India market, which is undergoing its first national education reform since the 80s. We participated in 2 trade missions to India last year, where we have pilots in play with potential licensed partners. We estimate our Australia and India market potential at $51 million. There are only a handful of teachers across Australia creating entrepreneurial education resources from scratch. Other educational providers are offering one-off workshops. Young Change Agents is the only organisation offering combined lifelong learning, capacity building and learner profile and credentialing tech in this space. We have the A team of talent distributed across Australia that combined are experienced in launching, leading and growing organisations. Our board brings additional strengths in finance, product management and global sales and marketing. Our tech partner, Dynamic 4, has worked with us on our proprietary technology since 2018. We are positioning ourselves for impact investment in late 21. We're keen to build relationships with purpose-driven investors who want to build the next generation of entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for your time.
My name is Mark Sabo and I'm the founder of Kitembe. 2 years ago, I stood at the front of a lecture theatre half full of bored and disengaged accounting students. Half of them didn't even bother to show up and the other half were probably wondering why they did. And it suddenly occurred to me that by standing at the front and delivering a traditional lecture, pretty much the same way that my predecessors have done for hundreds of years, we were wasting a tremendous opportunity. Here were a group of students. They're in the same place at the same time, ready to learn. Everything you'd need for an interactive, hands-on learning experience. But it doesn't happen. Despite the evidence of its value, hands-on learning in the study of business is surprisingly rare. And it's because it's difficult. Business doesn't naturally lend itself to hands-on learning. There's nothing to hold in your hand. So we take the easy route of simply explaining concepts, which students then try to memorize. This doesn't engage students, especially the current generation who have an expectation of interactivity and they're used to learning through discovery. The problem has only become worse in the age of remote and hybrid learning, and universities are starting to struggle to differentiate their offering in this new world that they've been dropped into. Kitembe is a platform that aims to make it easy to incorporate these active learning experiences into business courses. We build simple, engaging games around individual topics and concepts in business. The game on the right is designed to teach supply and demand in microeconomics, and it seeks to strengthen students' intuitions around the relationships between price, quantity, and economic events. Kitembe has been used by over 2,500 students at 2 universities. These are some of our amazing customers who have had great results using Kitembe in their classes, which were all significantly impacted by the pandemic at the time. The games are rated highly by the students, and we consistently observe them interacting with the content over and over again as they try to beat high scores and master the concepts. Our approach to gamification is unique. We don't rely on fancy graphics or attempt to recreate reality. The economy is about how people with different incentives interact with each other and make decisions. So it makes sense that games should use these same elements to generate engagement. The end user experience is probably closer to playing a board game or using a social networking app than it is to playing a realistic video game. Our approach is remarkably well suited to teaching business and also cuts game development time down to days and weeks rather than months and years. Another unique element of our games is how flexibly they can be deployed. Each game can be used in synchronous or asynchronous mode, single or multiplayer. So it's super easy to drop these games into any course, and educators can determine the level of effort and class time they'd like to devote to it. In the next couple of years, our ambition is to be the leading offering in this space. We're targeting the top business schools because we think there is a huge amount of mutual benefit from pairing the best technologies in the space to the best educators. This is how the landscape for course material looks in business. Educators don't have a lot of options. There's Poll Everywhere and Similar, which are great, but their functionality is very simple and generic. And beyond that, there isn't much unless you want to create your own either low or high-tech solution, which certainly involves a lot of cost and effort, and there's no guarantee of a good result. So this is obviously where we want to be, something that's effective without requiring too much investment of time and effort. Our initial vision for the business model is to provide access to the whole platform for $10 per student per course unit. The idea is to encourage lecturers to experiment with a number of different games and embed the platform into their courses. We've run successful pilots in 5 undergraduate subjects, both paid and free, and we've been fortunate enough to be accepted into a couple of excellent accelerator programs. Looking ahead, we've got pilots starting soon in business schools in the United States, and we continue to focus on expanding the product lineup with the aim of covering about a quarter of the entire first year undergraduate business curriculum. In the medium term, we want to push to get into all of the top business schools in the US, and it's for this that we're seeking both guidance and capital. Thank you very much for listening.
This is Tom. Tom was just a regular kid, but at 4 years old he started withdrawing from people, and at 5 he was self-harming. But it wasn't until he was aged 8 that he was finally diagnosed with severe anxiety in hospital. This should never have happened. Post-COVID, Tom, the kid you just met, is one of 2.5 million children in Australia and nearly 1 billion children around the developed world with severe enough symptoms to have diagnosable anxiety but unable to get help right now. He's also one of the thousands who end up in hospital due to self-harm and at risk of suicide every year, which is currently climbing at around 30% annually. See, the problem is there aren't enough child psychologists and mental health specialists in the Western and Eastern developed world, and almost all of them have 6-month waiting lists that are now closed. So if your child is one of the near billion missing out, it's now almost impossible to get them help. Hi, I'm Dr. Louise Metcalf. I'm a psychologist of almost 30 years and a mum, and I want to introduce you to George, the little robot app who helps kids with anxiety. George is a first responder for kids aged 7 to 12 with symptoms of anxiety or issues with resilience due to difficult life circumstances, such as divorce or bullying. He's a virtual psychologist who uses games as therapy to help kids build a resilient brain and manage panic episodes. He's been designed with over 400 children in schools, so we already know they love him. He also has screens for parents to help adults track key symptoms of anxiety that they can then take to treating professionals if that's ever required, increasing the accuracy and speed of diagnosis. George has age-appropriate gamification, similar to Minecraft, to help kids engage through identity self-expression that we know they love and thrive on. He has 3 main streams of psychological therapy that are currently used in Australia to treat childhood anxiety: positive psychology for neuroshaping to build a more resilient brain, cognitive behaviour therapy to help kids understand the connections between thoughts, emotions and behaviour, and acceptance commitment therapy to help kids understand that difficult emotions can be okay. We've completed our beta testing with incredibly positive feedback of positive change from kids and families. We also have 3 clinics signed up to distribute him to their clients. We have 11 schools waiting for access to our online childhood anxiety training course, which introduces George to their students and creates positive behaviour support systems in schools for kids with anxiety. George will launch next week with over 700 parents signed up to try him out. This is just one of the incredible testimonials we've received so far from parents. Other testimonials include children who could not leave their homes without panic finally being able to do so, and parents crying with relief that their child does not have a meltdown multiple times a day anymore due to fear. Just for childhood anxiety, our TAM is estimated to be $171 billion. Our SAM is $7 billion, which is the US, UK and Australia, and our SOM is $500 million. It's a SaaS recurring revenue business model where each user pays $14.99 a month for at least 6 years, and our market research with parents indicates that they would want to support our work for a lot longer. The platform is also designed to convert into a delivery system for multiple psychologists to deliver vetted therapies through the characters, changing the way psychological therapy is delivered for children. It's primarily teachers who first notify parents of their child likely having anxiety, so our go-to-market strategy in Australia is through the 600 primary schools first, where we'll offer a discount for parents they refer to George. Then it's on to the 700 psychology clinics and 30,000 GPs. We're already talking to people in the US to follow the same process there as our ambassadors. George is unique, as he's the only app out there with both scientifically supported therapy and built for kids. No other app has both the long and short-term results that George offers. All our commonly known competitors offer breathing and meditation and mindfulness only, which is not therapy and only offers short-term help for kids. The George team is led by myself and also includes an ex-Silicon Valley product manager, an internationally experienced human designer for children, experienced primary teachers, and experienced child psychologists. We've already made significant progress in our roadmap, and we now begin experiments into childhood depression, increasing the amount of positive psychology neuroshaping within the app. George is about to begin raising a $400K seed investment. We expect to give our investors a return of around about 60 times. We can make a better world for children, and they really need us to. So help me in making a better world for Tom. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the My Computer Brain. My name is Dr. Carsten Schulz. The digital technologies curriculum is the new kid on the block in the school environment, but we do find that teachers are quite afraid of the coding aspects to it. They consider it as a barrier of entry. We do know that they want to develop their students' high-order thinking skills, but what they often find in the resources in relation to digital technologies are black boxes that limit the students' learning. We hear from schools that they have timetabling constraints and that subjects are operating in silos. What I'm proposing here is a non-coding digital technologies learning offering, where we open up black boxes, explore them, and see how they connect with other subjects. Also, because of its topical relevance, I'm proposing an open browser-based AI that not just teaches AI, but also how students think about their own learning. Here's the product. You see the STEM cloud platform at the top right, which hosts the interactive AI, an interactive computer processor, courses on algorithms, graphics, robotics, and more. At the bottom right, you see the physical product, and that's the one we started with. Very relevant for the kinesthetic learners. And students like to touch things, they like to plug things together and push buttons. So the product comes in two parts. Now, how does it look like and how does it work? On the left here, you see the interactive AI. Just 4 nerve cells are sufficient to drive a little robot along a line. A physical variable helps students to understand the rather abstract concept of variables in computing, where students often rather rename the variable rather than changing its content. This RAM module here has 101 LEDs. We can visualize every single bit in the memory. And then on the very right, the end result, a 4-bit CPU where students see exactly what is happening inside the machine. This CPU lends itself fantastically to cybersecurity applications because students can hack into it from their laptop via the Arduino that we provide. If you're an investor in EdTech, you know the market size, 3.8 million students, 9,500 schools in Australia, but the OECD market is a multifold larger. Our business model rests on 2 pillars. There's the subscription model for the cloud platform, starting from as little as $3 for 3 months for a single course. And then there are the physical kits, which is a pay-per-kit business model. And usually in the classroom, 2 students share 1 kit. So usually a classroom set would be 12 to 13 of the B4 units. We have competition, of course, in 4 areas: coding, non-coding, AI, and hardware. And I've listed exemplars in each of the category. But I would say our competitive advantage is specifically that we're doing the opposite to what everyone else is doing. Where they are adding abstraction layers, we are removing them. Where they're doing coding, we are not doing any coding. We are focusing on the key concepts. And we're opening up the black box and let students look inside. And surprisingly, the key concepts are very simple once you've removed all the abstraction layers. Our AI is browser-based. Teachers can just access it. Students can just use it. There's no key configuration required, like, for example, with some of our competition. And you can observe the AI as it learns. It's not a black box. We have a direct sales model, of course, and a reseller agreement for the physical kits with Little Bird Electronics. We have an MOU with Apps for Good in the UK for content development, and 2 joint lesson plans with the Digital Technologies Hub in Melbourne. In terms of my background, I'm a bit of a repeat offender. City Explorers, Bebra's Computational Thinking Challenge. I've researched the topic of coding and computational thinking quite extensively, and my online courses have so far reached over 50,000 students in Australia alone, not counting Bebra's. My co-founder is Henrik Meyer, and we are supported by a fantastic team, including amazing advisors like the former CTO of Suncorp and amazing teachers in digital technologies and STEM. Our journey started in 2016, continued with the first sales to the US and Germany in 2017. We continued to grow, and in 2019 we received an advanced Queensland grant from the Queensland government to support our marketing efforts, and in 2020 we joined the Future Minds Accelerator. Reaching more teachers and students is our prime objective at the moment. If you like what I said, try it out. If you like it after you've seen it, please tell your friends. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Eddie Blass, the founder and CEO of the Inventorium, and I'm here to pitch you Networked World. This is an alternative provision for disengaged teenagers. So is that such a problem? Well, actually, yes. In New South Wales, it's around 25%. In South Australia, 48% of kids who start year 8 do not complete year 12, which ultimately means that the future workforce may be practically unemployable. So why are they leaving school? Well, they're dropping out because they don't see relevance in the curriculum. They don't want to learn Shakespeare. So we actually teach them around projects and stuff that's really important to them and their future that they can make relevant to their lives immediately. Secondly, they don't always go with the pace of the class. So if we have kids who need more time on one subject, great. And if they race through a subject, great. But we teach interdisciplinary, so the whole thing balances out and kids focus on things meaningful to them at their pace. And finally, in high school, kids have 8 different teachers and nobody sees them as a whole person and their future and what they're looking for. And that's what we focus on. The kid as a whole person and creating them to be an employable, economically sustainable citizen in the future. So we do this through our Networked World satellites. And these are learning centres that are open as like drop-in centres where you come for group work, meet your tutor, etc. And they're open from 8 till 8, Monday to Friday, and from 9 till 4 on a Saturday, where we also run an entrepreneur club for kids. And kids can come in when they need to, and the rest of the time they work from home. So if they're having a poor mental health day, they can just stay at home and do their work there. And we reckon 3 to 4 hours solid work a day, that's all they need to do to succeed. So why now? Well, COVID has shown us that there is a whole group of kids who have preferred learning at home under the lockdown conditions. Secondly, there's a whole group of parents who've preferred having their kids at home and also have preferred teaching them stuff that maybe isn't being covered by the school because they've realised what they're learning at school and that isn't matching their ideals. And thirdly, schools have realised they don't really have the skill set for teachers to teach online. And that's not their fault. Nowhere in teacher training are teachers taught to teach online, bizarrely. So how do we know this is going to work and where's our traction? Well, we've been teaching school refusers fully online for the last 2 years and we have a 100% retention rate. Largely because of the solutions we proposed in terms of teaching at their pace, what they want, in a way that they want. At times that they want. Secondly, we've recently started offering schools our teaching services because they've been struggling with it, and we've had 100% take up of that. So we've proven both the platform and the teaching model, and that schools are prepared to pay for this. Thirdly, we're extending the platform to cover the range of things like IT, coding and skills that they don't get in a traditional school curriculum to make sure that they're ready for those careers if that's what they choose to go into. So our target market is twofold. We sell to schools and we sell to homeschoolers. The homeschooler market in Australia is around 20,000 kids. If we look at the market opportunity for schools, we'll be charging $8,000 for a full-time equivalent kid. There are 1.4 million kids in high school in Australia. 25% of them will likely disengage and be our target market. If we get 25% of that market, we have a $700 million business. And our business model extends beyond that full-time equivalent student. We also have the Saturday Kidpreneur Club, we have short course provisions for school holidays, and we have an after-school club provision as well. Our competitive advantages lie in the fact that our curriculum is interdisciplinary, which is the only one of its kind available in this manner. We focus on the whole kid, but in an education-based way rather than just a well-being way, which is what happens with current flexible learning provisions. We'll be the only blended learning space in Australia offering this type of program. And our biggest advantage is that we actually contract with our biggest competitor, who's the schools. So our biggest competitor is our customer. Our team really is split into two. We have the business development sales team who look at customer experience, onboarding, and we have the learning design team and IT development team who actually manage the product and the learning experience and the design side. In terms of our roadmap, we want to launch our first 2 hubs in the start of 2021 and then are looking for angel investors who are passionate about starting something in their community for this group of kids for whom school just doesn't work. If you'd like to open a hub in your community, please contact us.
I'm Kim Hunter and I'm the founder and managing director of Champion Life. We combine guided physical activity with wellbeing monitoring to support student mental and physical health. I grew up in a family that valued health and wellbeing and was able to pass this same foundation onto my own 4 kids. Not every child has that same opportunity. Changing that on a large scale was the inspiration to start Champion Life. It is widely recognised that kids around the world aren't moving enough and a large majority don't have access to a healthy diet. Currently, mental health experts suggest that close to 50% of students are suffering from varying degrees of anxiety and depression. With many families unable to support their children's wellbeing, the burden of care falls to school, with the majority struggling to do so without additional resources. An increasing number of kids don't enjoy or are unable to participate in sport and are never given the opportunity to understand that physical activity isn't just about sport and that being active can help you feel good throughout life. The foundation of Champion Life is that all of our content is delivered by real-life community role models whose diversity and relatability reflects the diversity of our students and their interests, increasing their engagement with our program and positive outcomes. Champion Life is a fully online resource that comprises of 4 elements that deliver mentoring, movement, and monitoring. The data produced by the Wellbeing Monitor gives teachers regular insight into their students' wellbeing each week. It's vital to measure our impact, and we have implemented the Theory of Change framework to guide us. Each term we provide schools with an overview of their participation in Champion Life. This is designed as a positive reinforcement of our impact and is widely shared with the parent community. First, we cover mentoring and movement through participation in body sets and challenges. We then move on to the Wellbeing Monitor, detailing the number of overall check-ins, the average number of check-ins each week, and the school's average wellbeing scores at the beginning and end of each term. In 2020, we have grown to 80 schools in Australia and 2 in Singapore. In late 2020, we will launch our first NDIS-specific program in partnership with one of Australia's largest disability services providers. After exceeding all our milestones for the first round of the Accelerating Commercialisation Grant in 2018 and 2019, we are on track to successfully apply for the remaining $745,000 available to Champion Life under the scheme. Champion Life is licensed to schools on a per student per year basis. Our current renewal rate sits at 70%, which we aim to increase by 80% in the next few years. Our estimated lifetime value is around $26,000. Our overarching market is a global WellTech market. Our initial serviceable obtainable market is K-8 Australian and international schools plus the NDIS, and our projections are for our share of those segments to be $9 million by the end of 2025. We currently sell direct to schools and also utilise partnerships to increase our adoption. Our largest partner is Sport Australia through the Sporting Schools Plus grant program, which is slated to increase each year. Our strategy for entry into the NDIS is through strategic partnerships with large disability services providers. Champion Life has a competitive advantage in that we combine a positive intervention with regular monitoring, therefore delivering significantly greater outcomes than our competitors. Our revenue so far has been a combination of grants and sales, with the portion of sales increasing in the past financial year. We are on track for revenue to increase significantly this financial year through increased sales and our first NDIS client. Our team comprises of a group of experienced and passionate individuals who value their health and well-being and are 100% behind our mission to ensure that kids around the world have the opportunity to lead healthy lives. In order to achieve our projections of $9 million in recurring revenue by 2025, we have a strategic roadmap that will allow us to capture 15% of the Australian and international school market and enter and expand into the NDIS. This will be supported by leveraging grant opportunities, including accelerating commercialisation and those available through the NDIS. We are currently not raising capital, however, we are open to discussions with potential partners who would be interested in contributing as a strategic investor in the future.
Hi, wonderful humans. My name is Scott Miller. I'm the CEO and founder of Brisbane-based education company Bop Industries. At Bop Industries, we're on a mission to inspire the next generation of digital creators, helping primary and high school students develop their 21st century skills as they prepare for the workforce of the future. 21st century skills are being reiterated again and again by education and industry leaders as fundamental for students' success in the workforce of the future. And for us, our pillars at Bop are around entrepreneurship, innovation, and STEM. We deliver these skills to our students by delivering workshops in the classroom as excursions and after-school programs and also on school holidays, as well as creating resources and doing consulting with primary and high schools around the world. For us, our values and everything we do is making sure everything is student-centered, making sure the student is at the center of everything we do. And our programs are designed by young people for young people. We also talk about the 3 R's of education. Instead of talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic, we talk about making sure everything we do is real, relevant, and relatable. And finally, we talk about multi-potentiality and focus on that in a lot of our programs, showing students how they can bring their diverse interest areas together to create something really unique and to truly innovate. For us, our work though, about 75% of the work we do is custom made. It's a lot of teachers coming to us saying, hey, you've done A, B, and C really well. Could you maybe build a program for us around X, Y, and Z? And we get to collaborate with a lot of industry partners to do this. All of our programs use content directly from industry. We get to work with organizations like Rio Tinto to create zero waste mining programs, Singapore Airlines and Virgin Australia to explore innovation in aviation, Accenture to look at smart cities, and other partners to look at sustainable futures, the future of transport, and inventing 101. But for us, since starting in 2018, we've had the pleasure of working with over 50,000 students from over 120 schools in 36 locations around the world. Bop was initially started by myself as part of a grade 9 business program, selling hearings at markets, and grew quite rapidly to be one of Australia's leading holographic entertainment companies by the time I was graduating year 12. As a young entrepreneur graduating high school, I had a lot of teachers reaching out asking me if I could help teach their students how to do what I did. And I thought, surely I can. I had $100 and a couple of YouTube tutorials, and I built Bop Industries to what it was as a hologram company. Let's see what we can do in education. Since starting in 2018, word of mouth has spread pretty rapidly. We now have clients across Australia, in New Zealand, in Singapore, Malaysia, China, the US, and also throughout Europe as well. And we've had a pleasure working with these schools, with these organizations, and with these councils to do with the work we've done. But for us, our bread and butter is very much face-to-face delivery, delivering in incursions, excursions, after-school programs, and school holiday programs. But COVID was quite the bump in the road. With all of our face-to-face programs grinding to a halt in March, we launched our Bop Online platform 2 weeks after COVID had hit and we went into lockdown. Since then, we've seen over 15,000 parents, teachers, and students through the platform, doing over 250 classes and downloading over 2,000 resources, with some of our favorite programs from the classroom converted into online programs with live classes and workbooks. We do a lot of hybrid learning models, delivering content to our schools and our students through platforms like Microsoft Teams, and also a lot of consulting, helping school leaders look at how they're teaching 21st century skills in their schools and looking at how they can connect with industry better and better inspire these 21st century learners. But that's a bit about Bop. For us, our asks, we're totally bootstrapped. We run off revenue. So we're always looking for connections with innovative educators looking to bring us into the classrooms, ideally heads of department of business or STEM at schools that were looking to bring us into their classrooms. We're looking for more industry partners, organizations big and small, looking at sharing some of their knowledge with the classroom and with educators so we can help turn their knowledge into programs that we can deliver for our students in the classroom and on school holidays. And finally, we love to share our knowledge, experiences, and our stories. So if you know anyone that has any podcasts, any publications, or runs any events, we'd love to come along. We'd love to share our knowledge and experiences and some of our stories as well to share with your community. That's a little bit about Bop, but if you'd love to want to find out more, I'd love to come and chat to you after the event or head to bopindustries.com. I'm sure I'll see you all very shortly, and I hope you'll join in with me in inspiring our next generation of digital creators, showing young people the amazing things they can do at any age from anywhere. Thanks so much. I'll see you all soon.